Hi guys, welcome back to Crafty Quilting Designs. I hope you're well and having a really beautiful day. Well, it's Saturday morning here, so my normal greeting to you, happy Saturday morning, and I hope that it's good and you had a really fantastic Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving for those of you who celebrated on Thursday. I have family that live in America. My mom and my sister, etc., lives out there. So I know it was Thanksgiving. So I hope everybody had a really fantastic, beautiful, restful day and was really thankful, because we all got things to be thankful. Number one, being alive and being here with our family and friends, because it's always precious when we are here with each other. So it's around 10 o'clock here this morning, and I just wanted to jump in and upload my video for this week, and just to encourage you and to say how happy I am that I have this quilting family with me, and just to celebrate that really, and just say thank you once again guys for subscribing to my channel. Now, the quilt that I made for this week is a Christmas Scrappy quilt, and it's very, very easy to compile. Actually, it took me 2 hours to do this, so it wasn't difficult at all, guys. It really is simple, and I'm not going to show you a sneak peek because it's really beautiful. I did post on my community page, so I've started posting on my community page what I'm actually currently working on, so that way you can keep track of my movements and my thought processes. Okay, so guys, let me take you through how I actually made the video. And of course, those of you who are watching my video and not subscribed, come on, subscribe. It really does help us creators out. As you know, it really encourages us to make more content. So if you're watching and you haven't subscribed as yet, please do so. I will really appreciate it. So let's get into this video and let me show you how I actually made this, the easiest Christmas scrappy quilt you were ever going to make. You won't be disappointed. Okay, I made this one for the couch, and it's a beautiful quilt that you can throw over your couch so that it can help contribute to that Christmas atmosphere in your home. So guys, happy quilting. Let me take you through how I actually did it. Hi guys, so today, as you know, we're making a scrappy Christmas quilt, a scrappy star Christmas quilt. Now, I have all of my scraps here. As you know, we still have lots of scraps. If I have, I'm sure you do as well. So I've been thinking of another idea for our gift so long, and so I've come up with a scrappy star Christmas quilt. So we're going to do just an ordinary beautiful big star in the middle, and I'm going to show you how to do that one based on just using our scraps. And we're going to do 4 friendship stars, again using our scraps. Now, I have already started to lay out my friendship star, so we're going to need 4 of these. Now, these were the half square triangles that was remaining from the Christmas lane for our houses. All right, and all I have done literally is to just trim them down into 4 inches square. Now, I do have enough for 3, and I just have 2 more left here. So what I'm going to do is grab contrasting fabric, so any sort of bluish fabric, because that's what my houses were, sort of a blue theme. Okay, so I'm going to grab any blue scraps of fabric and make another 2 half square triangles. Now, even the ones that I used for the chimney is going to be in this quilt, so I'm not really throwing anything out. I'm using it all up. So these literally are the half square triangles left from our Christmas lane. So all I need to do now is to put a square in the middle there. Now, the way how this is laid out, excuse me, you just need to be mindful of how the triangles or the tips go, and you need to make sure it goes in a clockwise position or anti-clockwise. Okay, as it is right now, I have one of the triangles incorrectly laid out, so hopefully you can spot it. Okay, but try to get a sort of rhythm in your head. So one peak up, the other peak is going, and the other peak down. So obviously this one is incorrect, so I'm going to spin it around. Okay, and you can see that it may not look quite right, but it is. So one peak up, one peak up, one peak down, and the other peak down, because it looks like it's turning. Now what I'm going to do is simply add in another contrasting color in there to make up the balance of the star. Now as I said, I trimmed them down to 4 inches squared, and you also need 4 inches plain square fabric in order to make up the rest of the friendship star. Okay, and that just slots in there. Now I've got some fabric here that I'm just going to cut down into 4 inches so that it fits in nicely. Now it is not blue, as you can see, it's green, and I am not worried about that, to be honest, because I am going to put green scraps into the actual quilt, so I'm not really worried about that. And I am also going to use different colors within my friendship star. So I have green in this one. I am possibly going to add some red, because I've got some red here. Okay, in the middle. I've only got enough, obviously, as you know, of the half square triangles. This I had to cut. All right, now if you want to make your background a different color, by all means go right ahead and do that. It's not a big deal. It's a scrappy quilt, but at the same time I'm just trying to make it all uniform. Okay, so we need 4 of the friendship star, and as I said, you can have it going clockwise or anti-clockwise, so basically everything else will move. Okay, and I'm referring to your points here on your half square triangles. Okay, all right, just make sure that all the color fabrics is touching each other. I just realized it wasn't. All right, so point up, point up, point down, point down, point up, point up, point down, point down. Okay, and making sure that all of the color fabrics are touching each other. All right, now moving on, I'm just going to put this aside for a minute. Moving on, we're going to make now this particular block, and this block is made from scraps as well. Now for the scraps, all I have simply done was did it on, I compiled it on this 7.5 inch square of paper, and this is just ordinary printing paper that I've drawn a line possibly 1/4 inch away from the point to point there, and I've just laid out all of the fabrics that I selected. Now the fabrics, some of them are smaller than others, some of them not so straight, but I have taken the time to just straighten the edges. Okay, so let me show you now how to compile this. Okay, so to make the actual, it's a half square triangle. All right, so I've made the half square triangle, but I've used paper to stitch onto it. Now, as I said, I'm just using ordinary printing paper, and I have cut it into desired length and width that I required. You can use interfacing as well, which is fine, but I think this one works absolutely fine. So we're going to sew onto the paper and then rip it off. Now this is one I've done already, and as you can see, it's ripped off quite easily. There is no issues with it at all. Now the other thing you need to be mindful of is your stitch length. Your stitch length needs to be short, and that's because once you are removing the paper, obviously you are going to tug on the fabric, and so therefore those stitches need to remain intact. So if your stitches are short, then your seams will not come undone. All right, so just make sure that you change. Now let me change mine now before I actually forget, and I'm going to do a 2.0 for my width and a 2.5 for my length. In fact, I'm going to do a 2.0 for my width and length. Okay, so let's keep them nice and tight, which again makes it easier. Now I'm going to give you a pattern in the description box, so don't worry about all of the sizes at the moment, because it just makes life easier if I don't have to keep remembering what size we're working with. So to do this, to do your stitch and tear, which is what my brain recognizes it as, is to lay your fabrics down. And as I said, I've got my strips here, and all I'm going to do is pull whatever colors that I'm working with. All right, now I choose to work with the same colors for my main star, and I've started with a cream, dark cream, and I've put a green on the end now, and I've kept all of the half square triangles, patchwork, scrap patchwork the same, okay, and I've layered them the same also, because I want to show that sort of variation within the points or the legs of the star. All right, now for this one here, all I'm going to do is add my strip, and I'm going to tell you where to add the strip in a moment. But I also wanted to show you different width of strips. They don't have to be the same width at all. I have just simply used whatever that is required here, okay. So if something like this was to pop into my hand, I will then cut it in half. The most important thing excuse me, is that you make sure your edges are straight. That is what I would advise you. So those are the two knickknacks. The two knickknacks is make sure your strips are straight and your stitch length and stitch width is short. All right, and that's simply it. It's a nice fun project. It's quick. It doesn't take long to put together at all. Now when it comes to stitching on the paper, you can do two things. Now initially, when I started, I drew a line just a quarter away from that point to this point here, all right, to represent my 1/4 inch. All right, so I just drew a 1/4 inch away from the point, like so. Now initially I felt I did do a couple of these like that. So what I would do then is then put the first strip down, which is the light strip, of course, just making reflection to this one here, just literally on that line, okay, and I will do my 1/4 inch down there, okay. And then I got bored of that because I felt it was kind of slowing me down. So once in my head I knew exactly where I wanted to line up my first strip, I already knew. So then in a sense I stopped marking the line and I just simply put my first strip down. So let's go do that now. Let's put that first strip, 1/4 strip down. And I'm stitching, literally, I'm lining up the fabric on that particular line. Now, not to worry about the fact that it sticks off at the end, because we're going to trim that anyway. All right, so the next strip is literally going to come in, and I'm just going to choose something a little bit darker because I want to show that variation of color. It's just going to come in on the next side there. So again, what I have been doing, just to save the length of the strip rather than have it really long, what I have been doing is just bringing it down. The first strip, I want to make sure I go beyond the first point there. All right, so but the second one I go a little bit closer to the edge and I align it up front sides together and I stitch it there. So let's go do that now. And what I usually do is turn it, because obviously I'm right-handed, so I need to stitch from this side. So I'm going to then bring this down again so that it doesn't hang over too much there. All right, only because I am just trying to be stingy and save the fabric. That's the only reason, rather than just waste it. As much as it's a scrappy quilt, I'm still, you know, thinking about wasting the fabric. And I'm just stitching a 1/4 inch all the way down. Okay. All right, so that one is done there, and that's simply it. And I'm just going to finger press so that it lays really flat. Now, while I'm finger pressing, I'm also making sure that there is no pleats. So I'm just making sure it's nice and smooth, okay, and there's no pleats folded over. And that's literally in between my paper square here. All right, now I'm going to add on another color, and I'm going to make sure that it can actually extend over this particular side here. And that's the important thing you need to be mindful of, is that it must extend over the paper, otherwise you're going to have a little bit of problem. So as you can see, I'm just searching for another strip. I'm going to try this one here. That seems fine. And I'm going to go front sides together and line that up there. And because I'm right-handed, I'm just going to turn it on this side and do the same thing. Lovely, and then press that out, and hopefully you can see what's really developing here. So really lovely. And I'm going to take this particular color here now and add it on. Now you can mix this up to whatever colors you want. It's really down to your scrappy quilt, okay? And I'm just testing just to make sure that this actually extends over my last bit there, because I don't want it to drop short. That means I'll have to go back in again and get another piece. So I'm just lining it up, front sides together, making sure it extends, which it does. Very short, but it does. I don't see a problem with it. I don't think that I need extra fabric there. So I'm going to again line that up, and I've already finger pressed it. So I know it's lovely and flat. Alright, and that goes over there, and again finger press, and that is what it looks like on the back. So obviously now I'm just going to trim this. Now you can do two things. You can either press it first, but I think mine is lovely and flat, so I'm not worried about pressing it at the moment. So I'm just going to leave it as it is and just trim it up. And I'm trimming it in line with the paper itself. I'm not trimming the paper, I'm just trimming the fabric off, because if I trim the paper, then I'm taking away the size of my block. Okay, so that is what that would look like. So it looks absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I absolutely love it. Right, so very lovely, easy way of actually sewing your scraps together. Now to make the other half, because the other half is paper now, we need the same size square. And I'm just going to cut that down right now. I'm just going to use my paper as a template for a moment and just trim it. So I'm just going to put that there. Again, I will tell you all the size. I'll just use my paper as a template. And all I'm going to do now is simply cut this in half. And I need my long ruler for that, but I'm just going to use this one. I need my long ruler for that. So I'm going to go point to point and cut it. And all I'm going to do is just make sure I get that off. Lovely. All I'm going to do now is to put this front sides together like so. That is it. Okay, now because it is slightly bigger, and that is what I want, to slightly, if you notice that this roll here was slightly bigger, which is what I want, and again I will tell you the size, okay, it's slightly bigger, so I can then trim it up, so it's not the exact size of the paper. I just use it approximate so that I can cut it. All right, and you just stitch it again, 1/4 inch seam. You line up both edges together from your patchwork there and your half triangle there, and you're going to stitch. So that is what that looks like. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And I'm just taking my time and doing this. This came together for the stars very quickly. It doesn't take long at all, guys. I tell you no lie. Just have all your strips, get everything ready, and just have yourself just a little rotation going. Strips, paper, and then you can start making all of your blocks. Now, what we're going to do now is, as we've done before, just simply trim it up. Again, I'm trimming the paper off this time, not the fabric. Okay, and once that's done, all I'm going to do is now remove the paper. And remember, I actually had my stitch length changed. And this is very important. So the important thing here is to pull on the paper, not the fabric. So my right hand is pulling on the paper just to tear it off so that it comes up. I don't want to pull the fabric, just pull the paper. I'm holding the seam there. I'm holding the seam so that it doesn't come apart, which it shouldn't because we've shortened our stitch. And just peeling the paper off. I'm just going in between the fabric and the paper and just gently pull it apart. That's it there. Just take your time. Don't rush it. And that's it, really. All I'm doing is running my fingers along the stitches and just taking it out. The only sort of negative is that you have lots of paper to finish once you've done, but it stabilizes the actual fabric in the sense that there is no stretching or anything like that. When you're doing the patchwork, it's okay, no problems. It's just a cleanup of paper after. And that's it, guys. That's it, literally, to make your block. Right, so to make your large star in the middle, you would need 17 of these. And then obviously once you've done that, sorry, 16, my apologies. You would need 16. And all you need to do now is literally just trim off your dog ears there. And this side as well. And give this a lovely press. And that is your block there. All right, so let's give that a press, and I'm going to show you now how to lay out the big star. So let's go over to the next area now and get that done. Okay guys, so the quilt top is ready and I've kept it very simplistic. As you can see, it's obviously a scrappy quilt, so I didn't really want to add too much effort into it. The star in the middle stands out, and that's what my most sort of #1 feature was aiming at. And I've put a red and green border around it and laid out the friendship stars, as you can see it there. And the friendship stars, they come up to 11 inches square, and the balance of the squares, the green squares, they're all 11 inches also, and I've just stitched them all around. Now this doesn't take a long time to compile. You can do this in a few hours, to be honest. It's a very quick lap Christmas star quilt. So you know, if you don't want to do a massive quilt for Christmas, this one can really come together nicely, and you can use similar colors or any colors that you have. Remember, it's a scrap quilt and it's the opportunity to use up what you have, or you can just simply use ordinary fabrics. It does not have to be a Christmas fabric. And this again is for a Christmas gift sew along. So again, it will be really nice to use up all of your stash to give away as gifts rather than going out and do shopping. And you know, homemade gifts always the best. Right guys, so let's get this all basted and quilted, and then I will show you the end result. The quilt is all done. Doesn't it look absolutely lovely? Just simply beautiful. This was simply made from our Christmas scraps. It's a beautiful, quick quilt. It literally took me 2 hours to compile and put together all the sewing. Remember, we started with our strip blocks, our paper piecing in the middle. You only need 16 of those. Then we used scraps to make our friendship stars. And most of these were from our original quilt. These were the cuts from the trees to make the friendship stars. So very simplistic, very quick. This quilt measures 52 inches squared, and it's a couch throw quilt for Christmas, obviously. Looks absolutely gorgeous, guys. It's been quilted really lovely as well. So I'm just going to bring you in closer so you can see all of the quilting. Now I mainly did intricate quilting within the star, and I use yellow thread to help highlight it. However, I did a nice red border to frame that star in the middle with some green on the corner there. But on the sides, I decided was to add on the same size as the friendship star block, ordinary plain blocks, but with Christmas prints. And in that way, it helped to create the quilt a lot more quickly. For the binding, I used the same fabric that I used there. And again, all of this were leftover fabric. There was no fabric being bought to make the quilt. So really lovely, guys. Really, really lovely. Remember, these here were from our houses. So it has come together really quickly, really, really wonderfully. It is a couch quilt. It can be used to throw over the couch. You can use it as a wall hanging. You can use it on your bed, you know, to help decorate your bedroom and bring that Christmas theme all together. This really, really, really is lovely. You won't be disappointed making this very quick quilt for Christmas. So if you know you haven't got time, you're running out of time, this is something you can put together in 2 hours. All of the blocks is only 16 for these blocks here. You only need 16. And that's it. And you can use whatever creations you want to formulate how you want the middle of the star to look. And you put it together. Very quick. This is the easiest Christmas quilt you would ever make. I promise you that. And if you don't want to do, you know, intricate quilting, as I have done, you can simply do loop-de-loops, which is what I've done on these ones at the end here. I've only done quilting within these star blocks, but just the ordinary squares of fabric, I just did loop-de-loops, and that really speeded up the process. Sometimes you got to gauge what sort of quilting you're going to do to help speed the process up for your quilting. But overall, really lovely. Not disappointed at all. This is going to make a beautiful gift for someone. On the back, I kept it very simple. I use grey thread to show up the quilting. And the fact that the fabric at the back is not Christmas fabric, it's an ordinary fabric. It's quite sturdy, it's quite strong. It feels solid. It's very high quality cotton. Really happy with it, guys. Really happy with it. It turned out beautifully. So get your scraps together, make your paper piecing, and get quilting, get sewing, get it done. It's the easiest Christmas quilt you would make. So guys, do enjoy. Absolutely lovely. Really lovely. I am so pleased with it. I did some serpentine lines there, just some swirls, feathers in the corner, feathers in the middle there coming together. There's some flower meanders there on both sides, and I kept it consistent. I did the serpentine lines there again, and in the background of that I did wishbones. Wishbones was also done there as well. Again, swirls, because the opposite side has swirls. Your flower meanders. So together, everything came together really lovely. In the middle, just wavy lines again. So really beautifully. I'm so pleased with it. Absolutely pleased with it. It's a lovely throw size for a couch. It will really enhance the room for Christmas. Just beautiful. Just simply beautiful. So guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the video, and if you are enjoying my videos, please hit that like button, share the video, and don't forget to subscribe, and of course hit that notification bell. Once again, thank you so much for joining me on Crafty Quilting Designs. I look forward to seeing you next time. Leave me a note, a comment, let me know how you think or what you think about the quilt. As I said, it really is a 2-hour process to make this. It's a realistic time because you're really only spending most of your time doing that. So happy quilting, guys, and bye for now.